How's it going, folks? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about feeling overwhelmed and how adults deal with being overwhelmed. Okay, let's get into it. Now, first things first, if you aren't up to watching a whole video, I totally understand that. I'm going to summarize my main points here. I want to say this about being overwhelmed. I've posted this elsewhere on like Tumblr and stuff like this. I think I've mentioned it in other videos, but I want to just say it here. If you are feeling overwhelmed about something, be it a work-related thing, school or college-related thing, or an interpersonal relationship thing that's a friend thing, a girlfriend, a boyfriend thing, or a family thing, it's okay. It is okay to feel overwhelmed. It is not a failure of any kind to feel overwhelmed or to be overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is not a sign that you will not be able to deal with a given situation. It is simply a sign that at the present moment you are inundated with thoughts, feelings, hesitance, reticence, tentativeness about how to approach a thing, and that's fine, that's normal. My dad used to tell me when I was little that everything seems worse at night because I always used to come to him at night and say, hey, I'm worried about this, how do I deal with it? Just like the night, that's something you have to, sleep out, sit out, just put your head down and go through passively. Being overwhelmed is kind of like that too. You just have to grin and bear it. You have to take time to be overwhelmed, to let it happen, let your body go through that process, your mind go through that process, and then move on. So be overwhelmed in essence, let it happen, let it consume you, let it wash over you like a wave, and then afterwards, stand up, make a plan, and move forward. Now, just realized I forgot to say where today's background noise is coming from. Today's background noise brought to you by roosters, despite the fact that it's like 10 o'clock at night, and crazy neighbors playing music that could well get me a copyright strike if it's actually audible, and motorbikes and tricycles and whatnot. Oh well. In order for me to explain how I came to terms with being okay with being overwhelmed, I want to take you back in time a little bit. So let's go back to when I was about 6 years old, when, let's say, the seed of anxiety was planted in me. So when I was about 6 years old, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, I remember accompanying my dad to the supermarket. I remember, packing everything into the trolley, then taking it to the cashier, and eventually paying for it. At this point, I remember my dad taking out his credit card and handing it to the lady without much thought. She just said the price of the shopping, and my dad reached into his wallet, took out his credit card, and that was that. He didn't even flinch or react when she said the figure to him. And I thought, wow, credit cards must be magic things that you get when you turn into an adult, and they have unlimited money on them. At that point, I also decided that the fact that, we bought the cheaper stuff in the supermarket, like not the name brand cereals or chocolate, we had a very old car, and our house was quite small, all of us compared to what my classmates had, it was a choice. We were choosing to buy these things as opposed to the, fancier things. That was what I decided in my mind. So I was fine with all that. I just decided, we're just buying all these things. We have all these things, these particular normal things, not especially fancy or expensive, because we want to have them. If we wanted to, we could damn well have the nicer, more fancy things. So I wasn't too, afraid to ask my mom a question one day. I asked her, Mom, are we poor? And I remember she turned to me and she said, in kind of a somber way, which is just her way, the way she is as a person, we have just enough money to get by. And I know she didn't mean to scare me, but I'm an anxious person. I get anxious quite easily, and it did scare me. I wondered, this is rather upset my worldview. I didn't expect that. I didn't think that we were. That's quite a harsh truth right there. Mom, thanks for that. Okay. And while at that time it didn't really get to me, over time, and as I grew up and became a bit more self-aware and aware of the world around me, it did start to bother me. Quite a lot, actually. I want to take a second here to acknowledge that this is the ultimate first world problem. Poor, white boy can't have his you know, his fancy iPods or his, you know, name brand cereal, boo-hoo, right? I get it. But problems of any sort are relative. So hope you'll appreciate that. I certainly appreciate that, and let's just accept that that was a big deal for me back then. It's certainly not a big deal for me now anymore, but it was back then. So I became aware of, you know, the fact that there were discrepancies between the things that I had and the sorts of, you know, circles that other people moved in that I moved in. As I grew up and stuff like that, I noticed that they started to get expensive things, especially like, you know, when I became a teenager, and that was really when, you know, high-speed internet became a thing in most houses in Ireland and around the world, and, you know, cell phones, camera phones, whatever, became like, you know, really affordable and things like that, and they started commonly having cameras and internet access and stuff like that, and, you know, people just had these things, and I didn't, and as such, I felt like you know, I struck out like a sore thumb, and that I was going to attract negative attention. You know, I'd already been picked on a little bit by people in school and elsewhere and stuff like that, and I did feel a bit singled out, and I felt that my status as somebody with less, you know, capital and less, you know, material wealth and whatnot was a target. I felt like I was a target in that sense. It really got to me because I started like investing ideas of worth, of self-worth in things, and I thought that, like, you know, if I didn't have things, that I was somehow, you know, less worthy as a person. There was less to me as a person. I was less substantial, and it came to embody the sort of weakness that I felt in myself. You know, I had other issues, such as, you know, dealing with my circulatory problem, which made me feel cold and small and weak, and these other things that I felt like I couldn't have, like, you know, amenities and nice fancy things that other people had, made me feel more worthless again in another sense, and it did indeed overwhelm me. It really caught up with me, and it made me feel just in general sort of lesser, which is kind of, I recognize, a bit silly in a lot of ways, but like I said earlier, these kind of things are relative. Pain is relative at this point. Discovering that I felt this way about myself and about things was the most painful thing to me, and I was very, very much beside myself thinking about this sort of stuff. Thus, at the time, I saw myself, you know, casting forward to my future, still being poor, having very little, and maybe even having very less, or rather a lot less than I had at the time, because, you know, I'd be leaving home, I'd have to get a job and all that sort of stuff, and I wondered, how the heck am I supposed to do all of that? How am I supposed to get a job? How am I supposed to make money? How am I supposed to do anything? How am I supposed to have anything? That led me to think that I was never going to have anything, that I was always going to be lost, and I would feel insubstantial forever, and that I would never have anything to show for myself, and that I would forever be a target to the people who were like, you know, hey Luke, that thing you're wearing is cheap, or you're not, you know, you're poor, or whatever, you know, you suck, and all that sort of stuff, whatever. And thus, at that point in my life, my young life, I felt very lost, very confused, just in general. You know, I'm probably sounding a bit repetitive now, but that's the case. That's just how I felt at that time. I felt just lost, and I felt like I couldn't possibly amount to a substantial enough person to deal with these problems, to you know, to get over the fact that I was struggling with my identity, my worth, and, you know, coming to terms with the fact that things don't mean anything. They don't make you happy. They don't make you a better person. I was completely overlooking all of those facts because I was just so distraught at the personal anguish of, you know, not being able to compete with my peers in terms of having the same things as them that seemed so terribly important at that age. And as I've mentioned, this was affecting my view on how to transition into adulthood, and this is here now where I will talk about how adults deal with being overwhelmed. I cannot and will not claim credit for the thought that I'm about to reproduce here, to describe here, because I actually saw it somewhere else. I've just been building on it myself in my own mind. I subscribe to it's like shower thoughts on Tumblr, it's on Reddit as well. It's basically, you know, random thoughts, random meditations on things that people have and they like to talk about, and just ideas, like, you know, observations and whatnot. So yeah, I remember I was browsing the shower thoughts page on Tumblr or whatever, and I remember seeing somebody who wrote this. It was like, God, I wish, when I was young, someone had turned around to me and said that, adults don't know everything. They don't always know what they're doing. They're just as scared as we are sometimes, and they're really only figuring things out for the first time as well in a lot of cases. And that really resonated with me, it really clicked with me, because as an adult right now, I recognize that a lot of things that I do for the first time, I'm really just winging it. I have a vague idea, sure, I have a vague idea. I get advice from friends, I look up things online, I've been to school and whatnot, but I'm still just winging it. And as I said, I sit before you now as an adult, but, harkening back to my child self, and I'm sure you yourself as a child, or indeed if you're a young person right now, younger than me that is, you could well have been looking at adults as, perfect beacons of authority, wisdom and intelligence and experience, when, in reality they're just, concealing from you the fact that they're really just figuring things out too. They're winging it in a lot of cases, and they're scared. They're just not showing it, or you're not yet perceptive enough to pick it up. They are figuring things out for the first time. They learn they have to do something, and they figure out how to do it while they're doing it. If they're overwhelmed, well, boo-hoo, frankly, because they just have to get through it, and at some point, so will you and I. So this brings me back to the point that I was trying to make at the start of the video, and the sort of summary that I made at the start of the video, and how I feel that's valid and applies to real life and stuff like that. So anytime you're facing a situation for the first time, or indeed a situation that's recurrent and still very stressful or difficult for you to deal with, and you feel overwhelmed, I want you to do, or at least try, what I do. So like I said, step one is to be okay with being overwhelmed. Not a failure, not a bad thing, totally natural, just embrace that feeling of being overwhelmed. Toss your stuff up into the air and be like, well, sod it, screw this is awful, I give up, just do that, I give up, okay? Give up for a little while, do that. Another little story, when I was doing my fourth year thesis back in 2014, I was like 2 or 3 weeks before submission of my dissertation, my 12,000 word thesis on Titanic. And I remember getting an email like the night before a crucial meeting with my supervisor, and the meeting said this. It was like, Luke, where are you today? I need to speak with you. Why didn't you come to my class? We need to talk about your thesis. And then blah, 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 blah. You're going to fail. And I remember this pit forming in my stomach, like, how the heck do I deal with this? Seriously, how do I deal with this? And my initial reaction was just to sit there, kind of like, oh, I'm dead. Really, I'm just dead. And yeah, I'm just dead. And what I wound up doing was this, right? I penned a quick email to my lecturer saying, okay, I'm going to think hard about how to fix my work, and I want to see you tomorrow if I can. Let's arrange a meeting for tomorrow. Then I did this. I got up out of my chair, I closed the lid of my laptop, I went out and I bought ice cream, and I went to bed early. And that was me being overwhelmed in that moment, and not letting it beat me, just letting it happen, finding a way to distract myself, and moving on. So naturally, like I advised to do, I got up the next morning and I made a plan. I wrote things down on a piece of paper, step by step by step, how to address every single point as I saw them, and how to approach the thing logically, to break it down. Do that. Be overwhelmed, cry, toss a fit, throw stuff, give out, complain to somebody, then make a plan, break it down. Okay, just do that, right? Step by step, break it down, make your plan. Here there are the two things, right? There's the things you can affect, you can change, and the things that you cannot affect and not change. Start by focusing on the things that you can change. Naturally, list them, find out what they are, focus on them, play to your strengths. What are you good at? How will you approach this? How do you plan most effectively? What works for you? Is it, listening to music? Is it taking a walk? Is it, maybe playing video games for a while to distract yourself while you mull things over? Do something like that. Next, there's the things that you cannot affect, the things that you cannot change. This is the hardest part, but what you have to do here, honestly, is just make your peace with it and let it go. There are things in life that you will not be able to affect. For example, time. When you run out of time, you have no more time. That's it. There's nothing you can do about that. Just let it go. Other things, like, people who you need to help you, maybe they won't budge, maybe they won't cooperate, maybe they refuse to meet you halfway. You can't affect other people. Let it go. The next and final thing that you have to do, quite simply, is to see your plan through to conclusion. When I was in that moment, when I was doing my thesis and I was overhauling my work, I had no idea if I'd be successful or not. I didn't know that I was going to pass eventually, which I did do. I did fortunately pass, but I didn't know that. All I knew was that I had this plan that I put together. I ran it by somebody really quickly, but then I just had to complete it. I had to do it, and I was lucky enough to be successful in the end. But that's what you have to do too. Trust the process. Trust that things can work out for themselves sometimes. Be okay with having to, shelve, your feelings of anxiety and reticence while you're working things out. Put those aside and focus on the process that you've drafted together. Overhauling my dissertation was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was 12,000 words when I started, but I had to cut 10,000 and rewrite them unsupervised in 2 weeks, and the only way I was able to do it was by planning. I did a day of research, a day of reading, a day of writing, and then a day of research and writing, of reading and of writing, over and over again, just till I was done. I remember spending a couple of days reading my disaster of a thesis and cutting out whatever I could save, whatever I could use, and then figuring out how to tether it back together with stuff that made actual sense and was going to hopefully give me a passing grade. It was so hard to do that. It was so hard to cut away my work, progress, and to start again from seemingly the very beginning. But it worked in the end because I had a coherent plan. All you can do is plan. All you can do is then stick to that plan and do your best and hope that it works out, because at the end of the day, even if you fail there, at least it's an honest failure. It's a good failure. It's a failure where you put up your best fight, and that's also fine. That's genuinely fine. People will commend you for that. They might not say, well done for passing or well done for fixing that situation, but they will recognize that you tried, and you will also feel like you tried. It may well seem like a very patronizing consolation to be told, at least you tried, at least you participated, at least you gave it your all, gave it your best shot. But the honest to goodness, frank truth is that yes, that's the case. Adults don't get things right all the time, and nor should they expect to. An awful lot of things are done kind of as an experiment, as a trial, and you just have to, trust the process and figure out how to approach something by planning, by taking it step by step, by figuring out what you can and cannot affect change over. Because at the end of the day, it's like this. If you fail, fair enough, let's find something else we can do instead. Or maybe, just maybe, it wasn't meant to work out in the first place. Whether you fail or not, you have now experience that you did not have before, and that is always a plus. That is something that you can add to your resume, to your arsenal, to your collective experience as a person, the thing that makes you more substantial as a human being, to have faced adversity and at least engaged with it in some way. And lastly, you will be learning to make your peace with things that you either can or cannot affect change over, and if or not, you can conquer a given situation, or you can learn how to, resolve something that seemingly is beyond your power to control. Okay, I'm aware that I've been extremely repetitive and quite maybe facile here, but that was kind of the point in a lot of ways. I don't want to make my concepts or my ideas too overreaching or too, complicated. I want to speak in simple terms, and I want to be honest about what I've experienced and how I feel about what I experienced. So yeah, if you do find that you feel overwhelmed quite frequently, I want you to take this video, I want you to visit it, and I want you to consider the points I've made in it. Do you, when you encounter something like this, step back from the situation, try to observe it objectively and make plans to break it down and to approach it rationally? Or do you instead try to run from it? Are you comfortable with feeling out of your depth, with being overwhelmed, or aren't you? And why not? Can you take steps to become more comfortable with, engaging with something unfamiliar and with being, overwhelmed by something? Will you do that? Will you step outside your comfort zone? And will you attempt to become better at dealing with these kinds of things? My opinion is that you should try. You should at least try. Okay, so let's promise each other that we'll do that in the future, okay? Guys, that is the video, okay? I hope you had a reasonably good time. I hope you thought some thoughts. As always, if you want to talk about something or add to the discussion, leave a comment down below, do your thing, whatever that is.